talk about today. Today's topic of discussion include, but not limited to these things. We'll talk about the tradition of Beetak, how it started. Every Pranami temple all over the world, in one way or the other. Due to COVID pandemic this year, they are doing it live, remotely. But Beetak Discourse is happening all across. How this tradition started. Secondly, we'll talk about what does Beetak have for us? What does Beetak teach us? We'll also introduce Lal Dasi, the author of this Beetak, the biography of Satguru and Prananath. We'll also delve deeper into the significance of Beetak. Should we regard it as only the lives and autobiographies of Satguru and Prananath, or does it have personal significance to each and one of us? Each one of us. We'll talk about that as well. And also, we will talk about how we can relate to the accounts of Satguru and Prananath's lives. Because this Beetak is not just theirs. Mahamati Prananath says at the end of the first chapter in Lal Dasi's Beetak, through Lal Dasi, आगे अपनी बीतक सो लीजिए चित्तधर Sundar Ji. This biography is not just of Satguru and Prananath Ji, it is your Beetak. It is your biography. Why you came into this world? Where were you before you came into the existence? It is yours. It should be personal to you. Today's topic would also include the story of creation. Why creation happened? What triggered the creation? Why did the Lord Supreme Sachidananda Paramatma thought of creating this world full of suffering? What lessons, what teachings that he wants his souls to get, to understand? So these would be some of the topics of today's discussions. Dear Sundar Ji, let's talk about how it all started. In 1750, according to the Indian calendar, Hindu calendar, in English state, it was the year 1693. When Mahamati Prananath, the Supreme Lord Incarnate, who embodied all the divinities of the Lord Supreme, knew that he was about to leave this world. A year prior to his passing, he knew that the time was near. In the year 1751, or 1694 AD, in the month of Shravan, according to Hindu calendar, before he passed away, he had more than 5,000 disciples joining him from all walks of life, the awakened souls that we call Sundarsats. We had been blessed with this transcendent knowledge of Dharma, following him to the holy place of Panna, Sripas Padmavati Puridham, located in Panna, Madhya Pradesh, India, where he established a holy pilgrimage site for the followers of Sri Krishna Pranami Dharma. More than 5,000 Sundar Satsis awakened, who had left their homes, who had renounced everything to be one with the Lord. These Sundar Satsis were given the transcendent knowledge the world was awaiting for. The unparalleled divine teachings of Dharma was at the disposal of these Sundar Satsis. Before he passed away, Mahamati Prananath, he had been revealed the knowledge of Dharma. He had been revealed the knowledge that never existed prior. Tartam, the embodiment of the transcendent knowledge that the world had been awaiting for. As we said yesterday, Nija naam soi zahir hua jaki sab duni raha dekh. Mukta desi brahmanda ko aaye brahma atmashat. Those revelations that came to Mahamati Prananath in different times, different periods of his life. 18,758 verses, couplets. Mahamati Prananath assigned Kesab Das, one of his dearest disciples, to compile them into this holy book that we know by the name of Tartam Sagar, Swarup Sahib, and different other names we may call it by. There were 5,000 Sundar Sachis who had left their homes, left their families to be one with the Lord. They had been there in Panna, some of them for more than 10 years, because Mahamati Prananath got to Panna in 1739 and he passed away in 1751, so that's 12 years. Mahamati Prananath assigned the responsibility of taking care of all these Sundar Sachis to Maharaja Chhatrasal, the great emperor, the great king of Bundelkhand, a Hindu warrior, the savior of Hinduism, who liberated Bundelkhand from the tyranny of Aurangzeb, the Muslim ruler of India during that time. As we talked about what he intended, he wanted to convert India into a Muslim country. He actually wanted the world to be all Muslims. The role of writing the biography, the lives and teachings of Mahamati Prananath and Satguru Devchandraji was duly assigned to one of the closest disciples of Mahamati Prananath, that is Lal Dasi. So Mahamati Prananath assigned that responsibility to Lal Dasi because the penance, the struggles, the lessons that we can learn from their struggles, their penance, can be significant to the Sundar Sachs. To be Sundar Sachs, the Sundar Sachs they were become. Mahamati Prananath asked Lal Dasi to do that thing. While Lal Dasi was initially hesitant because he was not aware of the life accounts of Satguru Devchandraji, because he only met Mahamati Prananath after Satguru Sri Devchandraji passed away long back. He was initially hesitant, but Mahamati Prananath said, I will guide you. In 1751, Mahamati Prananath passed away. But the recordings, the life accounts of Satguru Devchandraji and Mahamati Prananath lived on with the writing of Lal Dasi. It was also because Mahamati Prananath knew that the followers and the followers to be of Sri Krishna Pranami faith in the future would be too invested in the worldly pursuits and not comprehend the glory of spiritual practices preached in Tartam. They would be too heavily invested in the worldly affairs without knowing the path, the penance, the struggles of Satguru Sri Devchandraji and Mahamati Prananath to self-realization. So he thought having an account of their lives, their tapasya, their sadhana would be significant, would be meaningful, will be conducive to this Sundar Sachs pursuit of self-realization. So the life history or the biography of Prananath and Satguru are collected first by Lal Dasi. However, there are many biographies of Satguru and Devchandraji compiled and collected by the scholars of that time. Lal Dasi's Beetak is not the only biography that we have of Satguru and Prananath. But the Beetak discourses you find in YouTube today, the priests and preachers of Sri Krishna Pranami faith that are streaming it live from all over the world, they are primarily based on the teachings of Lal Dasi, the writings of Lal Dasi, I must say. As I said earlier, along with Lal Dasi's Beetak, there is another Beetak called Lila Rasaga, written by Saneha Sakhi. There is another biography written by Navaranga Swami known as Sundar Sagar. Britanta Muktavali by Brajabhushan Maharaj. There are more than a dozen biographies of Satguru and Prananath. However, we should also note that Lal Dasi's Beetak is the most authentic and verified accounts of Satguru and Prananath's lives and their teachings. It was also because it was Mahamati who was guiding Lal Dasi record these events, record their lives and teachings. And also because Lal Dasi was the closest confidant of Mahamati Prananath, who was there in each and every moment. Therefore, our Beetak Sarsa will also be based off of the writings of Lal Dasi's Beetak. So, as we stated earlier, in Shravan Tritiya Tithi, in 1751, Mahamati Prananath left his mortal body. From the third day, on the 5th, Lal Dasi started writing the biography of Satguru Devchandraji and Mahamati Prananath. And he finished writing their life stories by Krishna Janmashtami in almost a month. And what he did was that he would write the biography of Satguru and Prananath during the day. And he would tell, or he would explain those events in the evenings in Padmavati Puri Dham, in Banglaji Mandir. If you have ever been to Panna, you would know where Banglaji is, where Gummachhe is. As such, the tradition started from 1751 and to the present day. It's 2021, 2078 according to Hindu calendar. It's been happening for more than 350 years. So this is how the tradition started. This is how the tradition was set in 1751, and it lives on. It continues to the present day. While it was happening prior to the COVID thing, as we are all aware of COVID pandemic and the wrath it has brought with it, millions of lives have been lost. Millions of people have lost their dear ones. Yet, those who live, those who survive, need to move on. With the grace of Sri Raji Maharaj, grace of Lord Sri Raji, we have been entitled with this opportunity to learn about Beetak from our very own homes, right in front of our laptops, our phones. We are being able to learn about Satguru and Prananath. Dozens of Pranami saints, Pranami leaders are doing it live. The Beetak Sarsa is live in Facebook and through different channels. We get to know about Satguru and Prananath. So this was the history of the tradition of Beetak, and it continues to the present day. As I said earlier, the glory of Beetak lives on. This Beetak lays out the foundation, her spiritual awakening. This Beetak talks about the revelation of Tartam, the transcendent knowledge that was, that is, going to liberate all souls, irrespective of their disposition to Lord, and guide them towards eternal bliss, eternal peace. As I already said, Mahamati Prananath in Prakat Bani states, Piche sukha hoshi savanna, pasarashi chaude bhavanna. The eternal peace and bliss would be realized in all 14 realms, 7 heavenly places and 7 ethereal worlds. Mrityulok, Prithvilok, Mrityulok, Pitrilok, Swargalok, Maharlok, Janalok, Tapalok, Shatalok, and the 7 ethereal worlds, Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal, and Patal. In all 14 planes, all the jivas would realize the eternal bliss with this transcendent knowledge. So Beetak gives an account not only of the lives of Satguru and Prananath, but it gives the key to eternal happiness, eternal bliss, because it contains the knowledge, it contains the path of self-realization. So, Sundarshraji, this is how the tradition started. So, if you look at Lal Dasji's Beetak, there are more than 4,300 verses. In those 4,300 verses, the first verse starts like this. Bhavishya Purana mein Raja kahe Jugachar, Bachana jo he bhaya sake, Tako karu vichar. So he starts with Bhavishya Purana, one of the Puranas in Vedic scriptures, where we find the genealogy of the kings and rulers, individuals who had the influence far wide and beyond. He mentions those kings and emperors and influential people because he wants to start off with something that is verified. He wants to start with something that everyone believes in. In these more than 4,300 verses, Lal Dasji describes the Mahakaran of creation. Brahma, Vishnuscha, Rudra, Surapati, Ramara, Nasura, Naiva, Prithivi, Napo, Nagnir, Nabayu, Nachagagana, Talam, no Disho, Naiva Kala, no Veda, Naiva Gyan, Acharabishasino, no Vidhirno, Vikalpaha, Sajyo, Tir Satya Mekam, Jayatita Tapadam, Sachidanandam. Prior to the creation of this world, nothing existed. There were no scriptures, no Veda. There were no Vedas. There were no sun. There was no sun. There was no moon. There were no 5 elements that makes up the world. No fire, no water, no air, no sky, no earth. There were no trinities. There were no Lord Brahma, no Lord Vishnu, nor Lord Shiva. The world was not created. Prior to the creation, nothing existed but the eternal abode of Paramdham. Self-effulgent, radiating Paramdham, where Lord Supreme resided with his bliss part, Syamaji, and the 12,000 consorts that we know by the titled Brahma Srishtis or Brahmatmas. So what happened in Paramdham that eventually led to the creation of the world, creation of this universe? where there is nothing but suffering. The Mahakarana, the root cause. I don't know if that's the right term, but in the lack of a better term, we'd say the root cause of creation. In these 4,300 verses, we find the Mahakarana of creation. It also contains the process and intention behind it. Why Lord created this world? How could this happen? Satchidanandamaya Paramatma, who is bliss absolute. How could Lord create such a world where there is so much sadness, so much suffering, so much negativity, so much deaths, so much killings? The process and intention behind the creation can be found in these 4,300, more than 4,300 verses. As we'll talk about that, I can briefly mention that एक पातशाही अरशकी दूजा वाहिदत की सक्का सो दिखलाउने रूहों को पहले दिल में लाई हक्का. The intention behind the creation is found in this verse. एक पातशाही अरशकी दूजा वाहिदत की सक्का. We'll explain that more in detail probably tomorrow. We'll find the descent of Brahma Atma, the moment the people of spirit, or the Holy Spirit as Christianity calls it, the descent of Brahma Atma or Brahma Srishtis from Paramdham is found in this Beetak. We'll also learn about the advent of Satguru and Prananath, their penance, their sadhana, and their pursuit of ultimate reality, the eternal bliss, the infinite bliss that all living beings pursue achieving. We'll also know that this Beetak contains the revelation of Brahmic understanding, compiled in this Tartha, as well as the unparalleled teachings that can significantly make our lives better, both here and beyond. In these 4,300 verses, Lal Dasi outlines the teachings and tenets, the beliefs of Sri Krishna Pranami faith, and how the knowledge embedded within it has sustained the possibility, has substantiated the possibility of religious harmony, and potentially, possibly leading to a one world religion that never ever thought was possible by anyone, living or dead. So that is what we find in Beetak. So I talked about the composition of Beetak, what it contains. As I said earlier, Beetak has so much content, is full of resources to make our lives better here and beyond. That is actually what Dharma is. So the true essence of Dharma can be found in this Beetak. As Vaisesika Sutra, one of the Hindu scriptures, states, religion is nothing but something that allows jivas, or the souls, to attain prosperity here and salvation hereafter. Yatho abhyudaya nisreyasa siddhisha dharma. That is what Dharma is. So Beetak contains the accounts Beetak contains the details. Beetak contains the guidelines. Beetak contains the keys to attaining that prosperity here, happiness here, and happiness beyond, liberation beyond, moksha beyond. So that is what Beetak is. So Mahamati Prananaji, for the matter of credibility, starts off with the genealogy of the kings and emperors that ruled the Indian subcontinent, I would say, the Bharatvarsha. If we go through the Hindu scriptures, there is this cycle of yugas: Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali. They have been defined, they have been distinguished by the disposition of people living during that time. Satya Yuga is the yuga where there is truth pervading everywhere. This is the age when there is no idolatry or idol worship, because people see the divinity, God residing in every soul. As Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridayarjuna Tishtati. I reside in the hearts of every living beings. So that is Satya Yuga. Treta Yuga is when Lord Rama descends from Vaikuntha as the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Dwapar Yuga is when Lord Sri Krishna comes down to this world to establish the righteousness, to establish the Dharma, to protect the saints and sages, to protect the Dharma. And here we are in this Kali Yuga, where there is so much stress, so much anxiety, so much suffering, so much killing, and no belief in spirituality, no belief in God, and things of that matter. So this is how Lal Dasya starts in the first chapter. He gives the genealogy of the rulers during those times: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. And when he comes to Kali Yuga, he talks about Aurangzeb, because he had the influence far wide and beyond. He was the ruler in India, ruling over the vast lands, converting people into Islam by temptation and by force. He gives the genealogy because during Kali Yuga, the incarnation of Buddha Kalki Avatar, the Buddha Kalki Avatar, with whom the world is going to realize the true potential of religious harmony. Buddha Avatar, the incarnation of knowledge, is going to spread the knowledge. And Kalki Avatar, holding swords, would do away with all the superstitions, mispractices, malpractices in the name of religions, and establish a rightful Dharma. And with this, Mahamati concludes the chapter saying, Sri Mahamati kahe saath ji, Sastra kahe yon kara, Aage apni Beetak so lijo chitta dhara. Well, we have been talking about the lives and teachings of Mahamati Prananath and stating that the Lal Dasya's recording or compilation of that is what Beetak is. But at the end of the chapter, Lal Dasya says, Aage apni Beetak. Dear Sundar Shahji, it is your biography. It is your story. It is about how you came to this world, for what purpose. What purpose your life is to serve in this world. What happened in Paramdham that you descent into this world full of suffering, full of ignorance. For what realization? It is your story. Because yesterday we talked about Thomas Alva Edison, right? How his struggles and his accomplishments inspire us to never give up, to never fail someone who trusts us more than himself or herself. As Thomas Alva Edison in his biography said, my mother was the making of me. It was her that I must not disappoint. That's what he said. This is, so the life accounts, the stories of somebody else may motivate us. But this is our account. This is our story. It not only motivates us, but it sustains it. Because motivations do not last longer, right? A lot of people say motivation does not last. There's an English adage saying, a lot of people say that motivation does not last. Nor does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. Bathing does not last longer. We need to bath every day, right? To keep ourselves afresh. So this is our story. This is our biography. It not only motivates us, but also sustains it. Dear Sundarshaji, when people talk about somebody else, they may not have any interest in it. Because who cares? Who cares that Bill Gates have one of the nicest houses in the world? Who cares? He has it, I don't. But when somebody talks about my house back home and what's happening there, it captivates my attention because it's my house. It is where my parents live. It is where my relatives are. When something happens in Nepal, for example, that's my country, it affects me in one way or the other. I feel like I have the responsibility to make things better if I can, because that's my country. Anything happening there captures my attention. So Beetak, if we consider this only as the lives and teachings of Satguru and Prananath and not relating that to yourself, then you care less about it. Why does it matter that Mahamati Prananath went to Arab to awaken Khetabai? Why does it matter? Unless it has some significance, personal to me. So Mahamati Prananath through Lal Dasi says, Aage apni Beetak. It is your account. It is your biography. It is about you. It is about your growth. It is about your awakening. It is about your reckoning of who you are. Once we take it personally, once this becomes personal, Sundarshaji, it does not take long. It does not take long to realize the true potential of Brahma Srishti. Because who we are is beyond our comprehension. Because Mahamati Prananath says, these are the souls whose Leela is craved to be witnessed by the Creator himself, Akshar Brahma. Brahma Sreshta Veda Purana me kahe so Brahma Shaman. So the glory of Brahma Sreshtis can only be realized when we consider this is ours. So that is what Beetak is. So dear Sundar Sadji, with that, I conclude my remarks for today. We will talk about the Mahakaran of creation. As I stated earlier in Durva Samahimna Stotra, nothing existed before creation. The world certainly did not. There were no deities, no divinities, no gods and goddesses, no earth and heavens. All that existed was the ever effulgent, eternal abode called Paramdham. It's stated in many Hindu scriptures, Chidadityam Kisorangam Paredhamni Virajitam. The Lord Supreme resided in ever effulgent Paramdham. Only that existed. We'll talk about what happened, that we are all here now in this world.